Greetings, brothers and sisters of the Dammeron Valley Ward. This is Brother Brimhall again, and this is our second short video to help you become acquainted with Family Search and how to begin to explore and learn your way around and do some things that this time I think you'll find very, very interesting. So what we'd like to do is go where we usually go when we get started, and that is we go to churchofjesuschrist.org. As I said before, this is the portal that gets us to most good things in the church, and if you will come here, and you see I've got it up here in the search engine, and if I move halfway down to quick links, just like we did before, go to Family Search, double click on Family Search, then up it comes. Now, if you were successful from last week, you should have either created an account or figured out how to log in using your LDS login credentials. So if I go up here and hit sign in, now in my computer it will fill in the username and password for me automatically, so I type that and there it is. A lot of times I will click this little box here which says keep me signed in for 2 weeks. Now what that does is that just keeps me from having to log in each time. But you don't want to do it if you're using a computer that other people use, just for a privacy standpoint. But if you're going to be coming back and forth quite a bit, then you can click that little box. So I sign in. Now, again, what you see when you start is you see a home page customized to you. And look at all these tempting things to see. People that need some help getting their temple work done, pictures, all these things, and this will change minute to minute almost, but don't be tempted. We're going to have a lesson on that, and we're going to show you how to find things, but right now we don't want you to go there and get lost off the trail, so to speak. We want to stick to the foundation that we're laying, and we'll get back to this in another lesson. So as you recall, once you come to this page, we want you to go to Family Tree, you left click on that, and then you'll see the menu and you hit Tree. And if you were successful last week, you saw yourself in the middle, and there I am. Now, just a couple of things. If this is too small for you, you can go over here and hit the plus sign, and it will make it bigger. If it's not located in the middle of your screen, you can just hold your mouse key down and move it around. And you also might notice that up here you can actually say how many generations you see. So if we go to 7, then it'll show 7 generations. I have to make it smaller to see all of them, but that's really too much. Or I can go to 4 generations, but that's not quite enough for us right now. So I'm going to stick with 5 generations because that way you can see it and we can work with it. Now, again in the middle, if you double click on that, you'll see yourself. If you click on your name, you'll see the details about yourself, and you'll notice here that since last time we were here, my brother who passed away last month, he's now in Family Search because he's deceased, and we can go there, and at some point I'll show you how to put a picture in there so that we can see actually a picture of him. But what we want to do now is we want to get back to the tree with me in the middle, or with you in the middle, and here we are. Now, you found yourself. Now we want to find an ancestor. So here are parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and all kinds of people you can go back and see, and we want to explore and learn about them. Now I'm going to go to my maternal grandfather, my mother's father. That's Isaac Elmer Brockbank. He's right here. Now when you notice I put the mouse over that it kind of gets a little darker. It's a little gray. And underneath that there's a little band that gets even darker. In the middle of that, you'll see a little fan, like a fan chart. So if you click on that, it puts that person in the middle of the tree. So where you were in the middle of the tree before, now that person is in the middle of the tree, and you can go back from there. But what we want to do with him in the middle, we just want to click on his name, double click there, and then you can see Isaac Elmer Brockbank, and if I click on his name, then his information comes up. Now, if you somehow have him come up and you have other things that it's showing, then click on details, because that's where you want to get to. We'll explain these other things later on. But but right now you want to go to details. And so the first details you see are vital details. Vital is usually birth, death, christening, burial. These are things we get from what we call vital records, vital details. Underneath that is other information. So here you can see somebody put in his baby blessing, his baptism, his mission, some information about immigration of his ancestors, and then where he lived at different times. And you'll notice that the date for where he lived is usually a beginning of a century, because that's when the censuses were taken, and these information was taken off the 1910 census or the 1930 census. And so there's a lot of great information here, and that is kind of fun to look at. But what we really want to do is we want to go to family members. So here you'll notice an interesting thing. My grandfather was married twice. Now remember, he is my maternal grandfather, and his first wife was a Brimhall. Now that gets kind of confusing in our family, that my mother's father was married to a Brimhall, but she died with only one child. And then he got married again to Elsie Booth, and they had, count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then one more child up here, 9 daughters. Their little house in Provo was famous for having 9 daughters and 1 bathroom, from what I understand. And Ike Brockbank and his 9 daughters were quite the event in early Provo. Now, if you go further up here, you're going to see sources, and we're going to talk about those later, but that just is the documentation of all the facts that we see here. In the old days, people would put things into the genealogy and they just put it in. They wouldn't give you any documentation. And now we look for documentation of every event. And so he's well documented, and we'll go and show you about that later. The fun part, though, is we want to go over here to memories. So if I click on memories, there are 3 types of memories that come up. First is photos. So here's a bunch of photos of my grandfather, when he was on his mission, his family. Here's his wife and his daughters that we talked about. If we go to the next type, it's a memory, it's documents. And so here we might find newspaper articles, we might find birth certificates, death certificates, and those types of things. These are documents that can be attached to him. And then finally are stories. And so many people have written stories of their memories of my grandfather. And so these stories can be added. But let's go back to photos for a second. These photos have been put in, some by me, but many of these photos have been put in by my cousins. And so I get to go here and many times see photos that I've never seen before. I like this one right here. Let's double click on this. And you're going to see this wonderful photo. One of the 9 daughters got married, and she had her 8 sisters serve as bridesmaids. And here they are all lined up. And this picture was so famous that it actually was published in Life magazine in the early 40s. And my grandmother told me that for months and months afterwards, she would get letters from soldiers and airmen and sailors saying, "Are there any of the daughters left that I might marry?" And somebody has gone through and, of course, put the name to each one of these. And if you clicked on them, you would go to their page and learn about them. But these wonderful photos are things that you can explore and learn. And it's one of the great parts of going and visiting an ancestor. Now, if you want to go back to Isaac Elmer Brockbank's personal page, you just come to his name here and click on that, and here we're back to the information. If you do want to go back and see him in the tree, if you go over here, you click on View Tree, and it puts him back in the middle, and then you can explore a little bit there. Now, to go full circle, let's say, well, if you say, I want to go back to me in the tree, well, the fastest way to do that is go to Recents. Recent, click on Recent. Those are recent people you viewed. So the recent, here's me, Dennis Creed Brimhall, and if I click over to this little View Tree and click on that, then we're back to the tree with me in the middle. So your assignment this week is to go where you left off last week, with you in the middle, and then to explore any of these ancestors. Pick one that you kind of know. so that you can find and have some good memories about it. When you get there, go to the bottom of their name, click on that little fan chart there, and it will put them in the middle, and you can then have them be the center of your viewing, and then you can double click on them and see their information. Simple assignment that builds on last week, and hopefully you'll be able to gain a little more confidence. And then in the coming weeks, we're going to get into how to add a memory, how to change a photo, how to find a name, how to add to the family, all the fun things that will make you an expert at family search. And so until then, goodbye, and as I guess we could say, happy hunting as you look for your ancestors.